the patient. What is the assessment? What are you supposed to learn? What are the various techniques, technologies, various investigations, and the different aspects of the cardiopulmonary patient's assessment? What are we supposed to do? In a nutshell, let us discuss that. So I'm just sharing my screen with you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So assessment of cardiopulmonary conditions. What are we supposed to learn in this module? We have to develop understanding of the cardiopulmonary assessment, how to analyze signs and symptoms of cardiopulmonary patients, to develop provisional diagnosis after doing a patient-oriented medical recording, to differentially diagnose the case using different techniques and technologies of physiotherapy assessment, to interpret and use various investigations related to cardiopulmonary cases, to use clinical reasoning for evaluation, and to document the physiotherapy assessment of the cardiopulmonary case as per the format. These are the sequential session objectives which you are supposed to understand. So we have seen these things under following headings. Review of the applied cardiopulmonary anatomy and physiology, including the oxygen transport, how the ventilation, intrapulmonary gas mixing, transport of gases, internal and the external respiration takes place. Assessment of cardiopulmonary patient, various techniques and technologies for assessment. Airway assessment, auscultation, etc. History taking in cardiac and pulmonary disorders. Subjective and objective assessment in cardiac and pulmonary disorders. Common investigations for cardiac and pulmonary disorders. Physiotherapeutic evaluation and clinical review and documentation for the various cardiac and pulmonary disorders. So let us start with the review of the applied cardiopulmonary anatomy and physiology, including the oxygen transport. So the term cardiopulmonary, what's in the name? Why this term is used? We discussed that and we came to the conclusion that the functional aspect of the cardiac system and the pulmonary system is focusing towards the oxygen transport pathways. So oxygen transport is the common function which is shared by the cardiac system as well as the pulmonary system. So it is the underlying rationale with which we try to see the condition and differentially diagnose this condition. You can take the example of COPD cases where they develop cor pulmonale or right heart failure after a time, and then even in the current COVID-19 crisis, once the patient has recovered from the COVID and they go home, suddenly we may come to know that patient has developed a cardiac arrest. Why this happens? Why there is a myocarditis associated with pneumonia, which go hand in hand. So this is something we must take into account. Now, assessment of the cardiopulmonary patient, various techniques and technologies which are required for assessment. Specifically, what is the role of physiotherapist here? So we start with the airway and breathing, sputum and bronchospasm we have to see. Then we have to see the PEFR, peak expiratory flow rate. So here you can see that the airways we discussed, they are starting from the oral cavity and then go down till the acinus with a lot of generations which we see in the tracheobronchial tree. And then there is a problem with the sputum retention and the bronchospasm which is seen in asthmatic individuals. How we can check that? The role of the physiotherapist is to maintain patency of the airways, normalcy of the breathing, sputum should not be there, and The bronchospasm must be relieved. Patient should be able to achieve a proper PEFR. We have to correct the posture and the breathing pattern. We have to see the pattern, upper chest breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. The diaphragm is the main muscle. It should be facilitated all the time, and upper chest should be inhibited. Right? So the cardiac and pulmonary reserve at various positions, body position, patient position, age, medical condition, effect of the training, effect of various physiotherapy interventions on the reserve, and the functional capacity assessment using a stress test or having a 6-minute walk test, improving the saturation within the ICU. This is the role which the physiotherapist has to play. This is our scope of work, or you can say role, at the core. So we have to start with the history taking in cardiac and pulmonary disorders. We start with the date and time. The formats are followed, various formats are there, including POMR, that is patient oriented medical record, and SOAP, that is subjective objective assessment and plan. Various types and subcategories of history, like present medical condition, when patient talks about the chief complaint in his or her own language. Then past medical history, childhood history, family history, drug history, history of the past medical condition, surgical history, and what the patient has gone through in physiotherapy, how much improvement is there, social history, occupational history, and maybe the sexual history of the patient, personal history, cigarette smoking, alcohol consumption. There are various subcategories, childhood history, immunization. We have to ask in a confidential environment respecting the patient's privacy. These things must be handled. We can ask the history using open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. In the initial history, we start with the open-ended question and we conclude with the closed-ended question if we have to find out a specific answer to a query which we may have. We should avoid using the jargon or the clinical terms when we are asking the question. We must keep in mind that we are asking the questions to a normal person in layman, not a medically qualified individual, and he or she is presenting their problem, which is a key for the further assessment. So we must avoid using the terms. And history is as important as the subsequent. Followed by history, we have to go for the subjective and objective assessment in cardiac and pulmonary disorders. Here we have to check the onset, sudden onset over a period of minutes to time, days, months or years. Acute onset, immediate onset. Then how long it has been there, duration, how severe it is, what are the aggravating factors, relieving factors and associated factors, subjectively. Then outcome measure must be checked. Some scales and tools may be used. For the objectivity, has to be given to the signs and symptoms which the patient is presenting with, along with the chief complaint. So they should be assessed in detail using subjective objective assessment, and the outcome measures have to be used for the objectivity purpose. For example, visual analog scale, Box scale of perceived exertion, or you can use a 6-minute walk test for the functional capacity. It's the objective measure, or the MRC scale, functional class of the patient, specific activity scale for dyspnea. These are some of the scales which can be used. Then, what are the common investigations we have to see?
So, sir, so sorry to disturb. What did you say before 6-minute walking test?
Yes, before 6-minute walking test, we were talking about the patient's outcome measures have to be used. Outcome measures means one is the suppose a patient is having a problem of dyspnea or shortness of breath, and subjectively the patient is explaining, but we have to give an objective measure to it. For example, when you have dyspnea, like Medical Research Council scale, dyspnea at rest, dyspnea at basic ADL, dyspnea as advanced ADL walking slightly uphill, or dyspnea during strenuous activities. So we have an objectivity there.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Yes. So Then we have the common investigations for cardiac and pulmonary disorders, like chest X-ray, which we have seen, which is one of the basic investigation. Then ECG or electrocardiogram, ABG, arterial blood gas analysis, PFT, pulmonary function test, where we have the volumes and capacities. We have to see what is the findings in these investigations. Echocardiography, angio, V/Q scan, and a PET scan. There are many investigations which can be done. We should be able to interpret the investigation, what is wrong with the patient, and we should be able to make use of the investigation to assess the case, and for the follow-up to show the effectiveness of physiotherapy, we should be able to use these investigations. Now, how to go for physiotherapeutic evaluation and clinical reasoning and documentation for cardiac and pulmonary disorders. Now, evaluation and reasoning can be done by various forms. One is the hypothetical deductive method, in which we go through with the beginning. We have a look, a patient comes with dyspnea, and we took the initial history, subjective, objective examination we did, and we thought that patient may be having COPD. We asked for a PFT, we got the PFT record, and we confirmed, okay, this is PF, like, it looks like COPD only. Or pattern formation. Pattern formation is when the patient comes with signs and symptoms, and we immediately assess the case and make a diagnosis based on the patient's presentation, which will come with a lot of experience. Now, to do a hypothetical deductive method, we use POMR and SOAP format, and for the pattern formation, we may use a cognitive map. All these things which we record and we assess and we investigate must be maintained in electronic record nowadays for the easy access later on. There are various short forms and long forms of patient assessment which are available, which are to be filled by the physiotherapist. For ADL, quality of life also, there are specific forms. Then we have the follow-up, discharge, home plan, and continuous care of these patients. This is in a nutshell which is expected out of you during the assessment procedure. So the assessment of the cardiopulmonary patient, the various techniques, technologies, and investigations, the clinical reasoning and documentation for these patients is what we have understood in this particular. Now, we will have another set of session where we will try to cover some of the things which we would like to revise, and one investigation, I think PFT, we have not covered. We will cover that also in a subsequent class. If anybody wants to ask any question, they may ask right now.
So can you explain about the ABG? Like how can we evaluate based on that if we are finding the reports?
Suppose we have a patient in the ICU and the patient is on mechanical ventilator, and we get an ABG report of the patient. In the ABG report of the patient, we have to interpret about the acid and base balance within the human body, or we have to check whether there is a homeostasis in terms of the hydrogen ion concentration. So first we have to see the pH. The normal value of pH is 7.4. However, there is a range 7.35 to 7.45 within which the pH should be maintained. If the pH is deviating from this range, it can be termed as acidic or alkaline, depending upon whether it is falling or increasing. Once we have seen the pH, we have to see what are the associated deviation in the respiratory and metabolic arm of the body's acid-base maintenance system. We have got the lungs, which expirate carbon dioxide to maintain normalcy, because carbon dioxide is potential acid, as well as we have the kidney, where we have the bicarbonate related function, which is also important to maintain the acid-base balance. So if the pH is deviating in a particular direction and the carbon dioxide is also deviating in the same direction, then it might be a respiratory cause. However, if the pH is deviating in a different direction and respiration is not in that direction, then it is not a respiratory cause. We look at the metabolic side. If the HCO3 is changing from 22 to 26, which is the normal range, then it might be a metabolic cause which is producing a change in the pH. Right. Along with this, we also look at the base axis. Base axis is usually unaffected when there is a respiratory cause. However, it is affected when there is a metabolic cause. Now, once we have found out what is the pH, whether it is deranged or not, and we have found out that in which direction it is deranging, associated with which side, metabolic or respiratory, then we look for whether there is a compensation. What is the management which has been done, and we also look at the electrolyte where we check the anion gap, which is the difference between the sodium potassium ions together and calcium and OH ion. So there is a normal value for the anion gap, and if we have the anion gap metabolic acidosis, then further we may conclude whether the condition is because of the anion gap related conditions, what is the actual condition. So there is a way of differentially diagnosing the patient based on the ABG findings.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.